Let's just get into it. Fortnite Festival is about to enter its 14th season, and this time around we had Chappell Roan as the seasonal icon. I don't know much about Chappell Roan as a person, but she has written some pretty catchy songs throughout her career, so it makes sense to see her as a Fortnite Festival headliner. Her songs are charted decently, but can I just be honest for a second? I'm getting a little tired of pop artists being the festival icon. I understand why they have the most radio play and they're the most popular musicians nowadays, but I do miss when Festival had a bit more variety. We're getting to the point where nearly 50% of the headliners are pop singers, and I think that's kind of lame. I'm not trying to say that these people don't deserve to be in Fortnite Festival, but I do wish the game had a little bit more variety as it did in the earlier seasons. What's more, we're also starting to lose our weekly song drops more than ever. I know that this has been an ongoing issue for the last couple of seasons where we aren't getting new songs every week anymore. However, it's really starting to sting nowadays. It's certainly not helping with the game feeling stale and rehashing the same genres when instead of new songs, we're basically told, hey, play a bunch of old ones, or hey, here's some unvaulted festival pass songs. Like, thanks, I guess, but I already had access to all of these. I've bought almost every single festival pass, either through crew or just buying it outright. I've said this before and I've gotten shit for it, but I genuinely think it would be smart to reward the players that have financially supported this game mode, as opposed to constantly rehashing old songs that these supporters already have. Now, I'm not trying to gatekeep here. I think Festival Pass exclusive songs are dumb and they should be in the store after the season ends. You're already getting a discount by buying the Festival Pass to begin with. But when all we're seeing for weeks on end are unvaulted Festival Pass songs and nothing else, it doesn't inspire a lot of hope for the future of this game mode. Now, what does inspire hope for the future of this game mode are a couple of very big changes that have happened throughout this last season that honestly caught me by surprise. First and foremost, drums are actually being playtested right now, both with and without cymbals, along with pro vocals, which is basically going to be the new karaoke mode. I talked about this in the last season video and I incorrectly predicted that it would be released this season. I don't know why Epic's been dragging their feet so long with this, but it's cool to finally see vocal support for every single song in the game that has vocals. If there's anything that could potentially save Festival from an early grave, it'll be this karaoke mode. Seriously, you underestimate the people that want a karaoke mode. There will certainly be very entertaining Twitch streams after this mode drops, and I'm looking forward to seeing highlight clips posted everywhere. The other thing that caught me by surprise is the complete overhaul of Fortnite Festival's mobile mode. Yeah, you can just simply tap the notes on the screen with your fingers. You don't have to map it so that way it works with a controller anymore. It actually feels pretty good to play. I will say though, it did launch at quite a rocky state. The very first day I attempted to play it, I had this awful flickering bug that basically consumed every single song, and it made it very, very difficult to focus, and I'm sure could cause some epilepsy problems, but I will give the Fortnite Festival devs credit. They did fix it pretty quickly, at least on my device. I'm genuinely really happy to see this mode come out. Any other way of using jam tracks aside from plastic instruments in jam loops or playing on pad is just really cool, and it's more value for your money. Despite how much I absolutely fucking suck at tapping the screen to the rhythm. For some reason, just doing it on a plastic guitar just feels better to me. Now, unfortunately, I have seen the return of a bit of stuttering on main stage PC, although not enough to the point where I was able to capture gameplay of it, so to me, it's not as much of an issue. I cannot say the same for everyone else, though. There were a lot of comments that corrected me, rightfully so, that apparently the PS4 and Switch 1 versions of this game have awful stuttering issues as well. I don't play on either of those platforms, so I cannot personally comment. However, I would like to see this issue fixed for the people that are playing on those platforms. It's a rhythm game. You really shouldn't be dealing with stuttering and lag. Now, unfortunately, that's not the only issue to report on, and I do have something that is far bigger and far more frustrating to talk about. You may have seen it on the news. Basically, Epic Games decided to let go over 1,000 staff members, specifically ones that were working on Rocket Racing, Ballistic, and most poignant for this video, Fortnite Festival's battle stage. Now, obviously, the big deal here are the fact that the layoffs happened at all and that they shouldn't have, and we will get back to this, don't you worry, but I first want to talk about these specific modes as they were. Anyone that remembers when Fortnite Festival first came out likely also remembers the start of Rocket Racing, as they were both shown off in the same sort of sizzle reel back in the day. Basically, it was a standard racing game, but with Rocket League cars, or cars that you could also use in VR. It was a really fun game mode if you just wanted to jump in, play for 2 minutes, and jump out. You didn't have to dedicate a chunk of your day to it like playing a BR match. I feel that Rocket Racing's biggest hurdle was the lack of support outside of its launch. There weren't a ton of maps to drive around on, aside from user-created ones in the few that came out with the game mode. Ballistic was Fortnite's answer to Counter-Strike, their first-person only mode, and I thought it felt pretty damn good. Again, the biggest problem with it was the fact that there were very few maps to play on, so it got very stale and repetitive. And if you're watching this video, I'm gonna just assume you knew exactly what Battle Stage was. It's basically Fortnite Festival's PvP mode, and it was still fun to go back to every once in a while, although once again, there was very little support from Epic after its launch. We got a couple aesthetic changes, yeah, but no new power-ups. The ability to filter by specific instruments came way too late, and there was very little support outside of just bug fixes and aesthetic updates. Are you seeing a pattern here? These game modes were essentially abandoned by Epic the minute they hit the publish button. Could they have rejuvenated them by introducing new features into all of them and making them more interesting? Absolutely, but they didn't. They just didn't feel like it, and as such, 1,000 people lost their livelihoods. 1,000 people will no longer be able to pay their rent or mortgages. 1,000 people lost their health insurance, and not to mention life insurance, including some that were terminally fucking ill. Clearly, Tim Sweeney hasn't taken any note from Satoru Iwata or Gabe Newell. When these oversights are your own fault and you're punishing innocent people for following instructions, then you're running your company like a bitch. I appreciate what you've done for the environment, and I obviously appreciate your game and your engine, but did you seriously think this through before you pulled the trigger? I obviously don't know how to recover from a topic like that, and from a personal gameplay standpoint, even putting aside the layoffs, which is a disgusting sentence to say, I'm bummed out that I won't be able to experience Battle Stage anymore. This mode had so much goddamn potential that was just left on the table. Oh well. For the last year, I've gotten at least one comment on every single one of these season review videos asking how to escape the Fortnite ecosystem because they do not like the direction the company is going and they're worried about having access to Fortnite Festival. In the past, I've talked about games like Yarg, Clone Hero, Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition. Obviously, we have Stage Tour and Sound System coming up. However, even more alternatives are starting to show their heads. What you're seeing right now is not gameplay of Rock Band 3 Deluxe that I captured on my modded Xbox 360. This is gameplay of the Rock Band 3 PC port. No, I'm not joking. This is actually a thing thanks to ReXClue, which is a native recompiler that turns Xbox 360 games into Windows executables. And it's not just Rock Band 3, by the way. Here's Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock. Yes, this is running natively on my computer, and I'm not making that up. If you want to leave the Fortnite ecosystem and still have access to a festival like Rhythm Game, you do have options, and even more are popping up what seems to be every month. Both of these projects are early works in progress, and you do have to compile them yourself, but they show amazing potential. So don't stress yourself out too much if you do want to leave Fortnite's ecosystem, but you still want to have access to that same Fortnite Festival gameplay, because the community does have your back. Anyway, with all of that being said, what are your guys' reactions to this news, and what are your reactions to the things coming up in the next season, like the pro vocals and pro drums? This has been DanRock, and I'll see you guys later.